Okay, so my name is Hannah Kim. I'm the director of the Cheonggyeudong East Station Library here at the University of Toronto. Before we begin, I'd like to take a moment to acknowledge this land on which the University of Toronto operates. For thousands of years, it has been the traditional land of the Huron-Wendat, the Seneca, and the Mississaugas of the Credit. Today, this meeting place is still the home to many Indigenous people from across Turtle Island, and we are grateful to have the opportunity to work, learn, and gather on this land. So with that, welcome to the East Station Library's AI Innovation Series. I'm very thrilled to see all of you from all different parts of the library system. The series is designed to help our community navigate our roles and explore how to integrate AI into both our daily work and special projects. The series also aims to introduce tools and approaches to enhance scholarship, especially in the field of East Asian studies, but also broadly in the humanities. As a brief background, we kicked off the series last November with a session on transforming classical Chinese texts into searchable databases with AI, presented by Dr. Guinter Lomas, founder of Sigtica. Following that session, today's workshop will provide you with practical skills and knowledge into integrated generative AI into our library work. So while the focus is rather East Asian libraries, the topics are applicable across various areas of the library system. We hope you find the session helpful and insightful. So here, I'd like to give you a very quick rundown of today's schedule. So the first session, the current one, runs from 10 to 12. And then we will have 15 minutes break and going into a lunchtime for 1 hour and ending at 1:15. All the participants will be getting a boxed lunch. And the session 2, it will go from 1:30 to 3:30 for 2 hours, and we'll have some beverage, coffee and tea to keep us going. So now, without further ado, I'd like to introduce the most important person today, our instructor, Dr. Kwak Leung Thang. Dr. Thang is Managing Director of the Digital China Initiative and a lecturer in the Department of East Asian Languages and Civilizations at Harvard University. Dr. Thang has a background in history, having received his bachelor's and master's degrees both from the Chinese University of Hong Kong, followed by a PhD in history and Asian studies from Pennsylvania State University in the States. He has built and maintained the International China Studies event, Clearinghouse, and Digital China World as part of his work. In recent years, he has focused on exploring the potential of new technologies in humanities research. Over the last 2 years, Dr. Thang has organized and led workshops on adopting generative AI in Chinese studies and humanities research at Harvard and many other institutions, and including for the community of the East Asian Studies librarians fields as well. So he is very frequent speaker in our field. So please join me in welcoming Dr. Thang.
Thank you very much. Thanks for Hannah's introduction. I'm Kwak Leung Thang. So today we will have this workshop, and this is my second time to visit Canada, and the people here are really nice. I think you heard a lot about this, but I still want to express my gratitude to Hannah and also the University of Toronto Library for the generous accommodation for me. So first, I will show this. You can see this page, right? And I don't use PowerPoint or slide for my workshops because you have a lot of links and you will have a lot of copy and paste. So usually what I do is I use Notion, but recently I found out that maybe I should do my own brand building. So I have a website and put everything on my website. So you can go to my website, which is this one, my name. And then this is the password, capital letter OT 2025. And then, so once you go to the website, you can see there are workshops here. When you click the workshop, you will find out the one that, this one, practical Gen AI for Asian libraries. If you click this one, then you are asked to give the password, then you can enter this password. Okay, is it too quick? And then, so go to this website, my website, displaying my ignorance, and then you can go to the workshop section, and then you will see there's a workshop called Practical Gen AI for East Asian Libraries. Any questions, any problems? So feel free to ask questions and raise your hand. I think you will have a lot of questions throughout the whole, the next 4 hours. So if you click on it, then it asks you the password. Once you can enter the password, you will see the page. Anyone has any problem accessing this page? Because we will have a lot of copy and paste and links on this page, so I want to make sure that everyone can access this page. The password is this one, U of T, U capital letter, T capital letter, 2025. So far so good? Okay. So, yeah, again, acknowledgement. Thanks, Hannah, for organizing this, and thanks for the team to help me to get all the logistic. And yeah, this workshop is designed for librarian and library staff who are interested in using Gen AI in their work. It covers the basic concepts of Gen AI and provide practical example of how to use generative AI in East Asian library context. So today, this is the outline. We will start with some conceptual definition, why we need to use Gen AI, what are the large language models, and then we will talk about something called retrieval augmented generation. So my expectation, we will finish all this free in the morning. I'm not quite sure that we can do that because once I review my whole outline, I'm thinking maybe we have many things to talk about. And then in the afternoon, and we will talk about the integration with the existing tools. And we will try to build a reference chatbot, which the library can use. And then the last one is Hannah asked me, we need to talk about this. We will try to build Library of Congress subject headings recommendation system. This will be today's outline. And then you can see, actually, I have some tools. This is my expectation of your happiness with it is at the very beginning, because we will talk about some conceptual definitions, so you will be very happy about that. And once we jump into practical stuff, then you may start to have, that could be a lot of steps and you need to follow. And then finally, if we build something, start to build the chatbots and also other tools, you may, it's difficult. But one thing I really want you to, after this is, you know that even you don't need me, you can do all the things right here. This is my goal. So once that we have finished today, then the only thing I want is you can find out your own way to do all this thing without my help, Okay, you may, at this moment, you may say, no, there's no way. Let's see, okay? Any questions, problem? Can you access this website? Right, okay? If you have problem, just raise your hand, okay? We are in a workshops, but I really like more relaxing atmosphere, so don't make this into a lecture or a class. I teach 2 courses at Harvard, which I really want to turn them into only like pass and fail classes, because I don't love to give grade to others. And so if you learn something, then I think my teaching is successful. If you like just compete for a grade, then that may not be something I want, okay? So after the workshop, I hope that you may consider that it worth to save a few cups of coffee to pay for the Gen AI subscription that I will introduce. But I need to make a announcement here that I don't receive any commercial profit or bonus or anything from all this company. So why I say that is because there are a lot of free tools, but you can see that some of the paid subscription tools, they may really worth to pay for it once that you find out they are very useful for your daily workflow. And then also the second point is, since you are going to pay for your work, right? I also want the library leadership consider to reimburse the expense that you will pay for the Gen AI tools for the library stuff. And also, I hope that you may consider to build your own tools for your work or for your daily life. You may keep hearing me saying that, oh, you will build your own tools, you will build your own tools. At this moment, you may think, oh, it's very difficult. No, that will be not that difficult. And then so first, if you want to get the most out of this workshop, you need a laptop. And I don't recommend tablet or phone. And so everything, links, prompt, code will be on this page. So you will see something sometime on your page, something like this. And then you will see there is like a box here. Once you click the box, that means you click the text. Like right here, I click the box, and then I already copy and paste the text. Yes? It's not working for you? Can others see the icon? You cannot see it? They don't see this one, right? Okay, that could be the problem with the browser yeah. So if you don't see the icon, that's fine. Just copy it and then paste it, okay? So that also works, but if you cannot use the button, that's fine, okay? Okay, feel free to ask questions if you feel confused or stuck. And then this is, the last point is most important is, you may see some use cases I demonstrate in the workshops in the next 4 hours, but I'm not here to tell you, okay, this is something that you should use in your work. And also, please don't expect that I provide you a workflow, then you can copy it and then use it in your daily work. Yeah, there are some cases in that way. But more is, I really emphasize one word is imagination. How you can imagine to integrate these tools into your work is more important than just copy someone's workflow into your work. Okay, so try to, if you have questions like, okay, this is what I am doing, and any solutions for that, you can ask me, and then I will try my best to provide the solution to you. But also, one thing is your domain knowledge, your domain expertise is more important in this Gen AI age. So first, why Gen AI? Why we need to talk about Gen AI? Of course, we know that OpenAI, we know that all the Gen AI is on the news every day, right? But to me, there is other significance of Gen AI. So I would love to play you a 3-minute video, and it's from Iron Man. Did anyone did not watch Iron Man before? Okay, maybe that are two old movies, right? You are too young. So anyway, I will still play it, and I will explain a little bit more after this.
Jarvis, could you kindly vacuform a digital wireframe? I need a manipulatable projection.
(1974) Stark Expo model scan complete, sir.
How many buildings are there?
Am I to include the Belgian waffle stands?
That was rhetorical. Just show me. What does that look like to you, Jarvis? Not unlike an atom. In which case the nucleus would be here. Highlight the ionosphere. Lose the footpaths. Get rid of them.
What is it you're trying to achieve, sir?
I'm discovering, correction, I'm rediscovering a new element, I believe. Lose the landscaping, the shrubbery, the trees, parking lots, exits, entrances. Structure the protons and the neutrons using the pavilions as a framework. Dead for almost 20 years. Still taking me to school.
The proposed element should serve as a viable replacement for palladium.
Thanks, Dad.
Unfortunately, it is impossible to synthesize.
Okay, so for those who did not watch Iron Man before, this is from Iron Man 2. So I hope that you at least have a concept that Iron Man was Tony Stark, this gentleman. He is a billionaire. Just think about Elon Musk. Actually, what he is doing is copying Iron Man, from my perspective. And so he built himself a suit, right? And the energy provided to that suit is there's a light, kind of like a nuclear element here to provide all the energy. But in episode 2, that element is poisoning him. So he needs to find a new element which can replace the old element, which provide energy for him and also his suit. And the point here is not about all this. The point here is he found that old, very old replica of the World Expo, the Stock Expo he father made in his office, and then transport that old replica back to his own studio and then start all this research, right? And actually, it's kind of a digital scholarship production process, if you think about that. First, you discover data and resources, right? He found this replica, and then, okay, it's interesting. And then he brought it home, and then he started digitalization, right? Try to digitalize every element. And then he started data cleaning, take away all the Photoshop, and then finally do the analysis and then get the result. So to a lot of you as librarians, I think you are very familiar with this process for digital scholarship production, right? But what I want to emphasize, a lot of you look confused, like, why? What I want to emphasize here is, did Tony Stark write a line of code? Did he write a line of code? Did he use Excel or anything to do this work? The whole process was through natural language, English. Okay? So this is the importance of Gen AI to me. Gen AI is not only an artificial intelligence revolution, it's also a UI UX revolution. It's a user interface and user experience revolution. Okay? So large language model, they are not new to a lot of people. If you are familiar with machine learning, that you know that it has been there for many years. And in the past, if you as old as me, you will grow up in the DOS age. Anyone remember DOS? DOS? Okay, yeah, so you reveal your age, right? You know that? So for those who don't know what DOS is before Windows. If you are using personal PC, before Windows, you don't have the user interface, which we call it the graphical user interface, GUI today, which like you're using a mouse, using a clicker, and then you click the links, you click something on the page, then do the work. In the past, if we want to know what are the files in a folder, do you still remember the DOS command for that? DIR. Very good. Yes, DIR. So that is the command you enter into your computer and then list all the files in your folder. So that's the command line interface. Another way to control your machine is the graphical user interface. That means you start to know how to use Excel. You need to transpose something. You need to filter something. Then you use your mouse. You click something, and then you get the result. That's graphical user interface, okay? These are the traditional two ways to control your machine. But the Gen AI, the importance is now you don't need to use this. We can use natural language, no matter it's English, it's Cantonese, it's Japanese or Korean, to communicate with the machine. This is the most important point of today. So I will start, you may say, how can you do it? I will start something. You don't need to do it with me because I will use the ChatGPT paid version, which is the education version. So what I'm going to do is, a couple days ago, Hannah sent me the registration of the 2 workshops that I will be teaching. So now I upload the registration file to ChatGPT here. And then I already take away your email address and your name. So there will be no personal informations, at least from my perspective. If I'm wrong, please, who will edit the video, please try to cover them. So now I have all this 2 file upload, right? And then what I will do next is I will communicate with it with all natural language. So first is I will ask it, can you see the files? Can you provide some insight? So you can see the 2 files are already here, right? And then, yeah, I try to, but it seems like to me, because this is not a website, okay, let me see if I can use, okay. It seems like to me it's very difficult to move it. Okay, so both workshop datasets contain survey response regarding all this, right? And then there are structured questions, and then there are some initial patterns. So these are all ChatGPT's analyze of the 2 Excel sheets. And then I can show you the Excel sheet here. So you can see these are the Excel sheet that you fill in, the form, the Microsoft form you fill in, right? So you are experts in data cleaning. So if you open Excel, what you will do next? If, for example, if I want to know the frequency of people who did not use ChatGPT before and who use it and visualize it. You use Excel, right? You need to do a lot of filtering, and then you need to provide, you will try to make pie chart or bar chart, right? But now, what I would just say is, I would just ask it, please visualize the frequency of using Gen AI tools in workshop 1. Even my English is not good. Will ChatGPT understand what I'm saying? Let's see. I don't know, in the last couple of days, it seems to me ChatGPT is getting slower. Okay, here is a visualization of frequency using Gen AI tools based on the select road from workshop 1, right? And then where is it? It's here. Okay, so it seems to me it's just giving me, yeah. Yeah, so that's something that I did bad, right? So I should not, okay. Then I will ask it again. I will say, please visualize all rows in workshop 1. I may take off my glasses. Since I'm getting old, I have difficulties to look at my screen. So I may have difficulty now to look at you when you raise your hand, okay? So now you can see it gives me bar charts of how many people use it every day, never use it, a few weeks at a time, right? So this is, you are experts in Excel, you know how to do it, right? But now I don't need to do filtering, I don't need to do transpose and anything. I just use natural language to do with it. And then I may think that, okay, this is not as good as I want. Can you visualize it in pie chart? Okay, so immediately you get the pie chart. And you can download this pie chart into and then use it in other software. And it also can be an interactive pie chart. Okay, all under the hood, what is going on is ChatGPT write Python script and do all this work. Okay, so comparing this to Tony Stark, actually we can interact with our machine in natural language now. Okay, you may say that, hey, Kwok Leung, no, you are still typing it. Yes, I'm still typing it, but I can also use microphone to transcribe it. But that's only transcribed what I'm saying, right? In one of the example in the next couple of hours, you will see that I really interact with it very soon. So far, any question? No questions, right? So remember one thing is interact in natural language. That's very important. Why this is important? Because it lowers the technical level you need to do a task. Because in the past, for example, if you want to use GIS in your research or in your work, that means you need to start to learn about the GIS software. That may be ArcGIS or QGIS. And then from that point, you can start your work. But just think about, you don't need those software. You can just say, hey, this is a data set of all the population in Toronto. And then can you do some GIS work, for example, find out the distribution of different communities, African communities in this data set, then it can show you the map with all the GIS function. You don't need to learn which menu you should use, where you should click, okay? Then that's a very important point for the revolution in UI UX in generative AI. Okay? So far so good? Yes?
Now you removed all the privacy, like private information. Is that something we should do? Like, what kind of information does ChatGPT?
Okay, first, I would say, because you know that when you use ChatGPT or any of this, for example, what we will use today will be Gemini, right? And then all this information, they will send to the OpenAI server, okay? So what I am using is the version from Harvard. The Harvard version, that's the education version that they signed contract with OpenAI. And they said, what they said is they will protect all the information will not be used in any of the training of the models or things, right? But honestly, no one will trust them. No one will trust Google. I met some people really hate Google. They don't use any Google service. I hope there will not be any of you here because we will use a lot of Google today. So there are two things. First is if you use their models through their website or their API, you expect that they will use it. Okay, this is the first thing. Then you need to think about what information you don't want them to know. Okay. Second is now a lot of companies, they have their own on-site deployment of models. Those are not ChatGPT, GPT 4.0 mini version. They are using model like Llama. Have you heard about Llama? Yeah, Llama from Facebook, or now they call themselves Meta, and also like models from DeepSeek, which is a company in China. Those are open weight model. They are not open source. They are open weight model, which you can deploy on your own machine on site. That means they process all the data on site without sending them to somewhere. So a lot of companies, a lot of institutions, when they have their concerns about their data privacy, they will use this solution. But for these solutions, that means you need to maintain all the hardware on site. So that could be also quite expensive. It really depends on how you use it.
I was just going to say that DFT has officially sanctioned. We use Microsoft Copilot. And I'm just reading the website. So if you go to its.utoronto.ca/Microsoft-Copilot, at the end of it, it says the Microsoft Edition Copilot does not use or access our email, SharePoint, Teams messages, and it's being vetted by DFT for information security. And it doesn't train the learning model.
Yeah. I think all the education versions, they have this kind of, but a lot of, honestly, I would not question that, but there are a lot of people still have problem with that because the data is not on site. It's not isolated and it's still sending to somewhere once you use it. So that is sending it out or not sending it out. I think the difference is here. It's not about like, is it legally protected? Okay?
We might be covering this later on, but I'd like to also have a little bit of understanding of the accuracy piece. Like here, we don't need to know much of other tools using those natural language, but in terms of verification of the quality of the data, what would the procedures, I mean, how can we rely on the data visualization, for example, here without verification?
Yeah, this is a very good question. So hallucination is one great problem, right? Have you heard about hallucination? Like it just generates something that, or made up something that does not exist, right? So for the task here, you will see when you use ChatGPT or any generative AI, especially ChatGPT, they usually handle things in two ways, okay, in two ways. In this way, how it handles things is writing Python code to do the calculation of the data set. Okay, so every step, since the first step, you can see there's some very tiny colon here. If I click this, then they will show me, it will show me the Python code. If you know the Python code, then you can check the Python code to see is it valid or not, right? This is the first way. So when it handles CSV file, Excel file, or this table, usually it will start the Python code and it will run it in the runtime and provide you with the result from the Python code, okay? There is a second way, which we will see very soon. For example, if I have a list of books, information, the metadata of books, I want to transform them into certain style. In that way, that is not writing Python code. That is the LLM themselves. They work to transform it. So you will not see the process, and you will get the results. Okay? As Hannah mentioned, I will definitely talk about this, but we can have some preview here. One thing about using Gen AI, from my perspective, a lot of people may not agree with that, but from my perspective is, you know the result. By what mean you know the result is you have the ability to evaluate the result. Then you can use it to get the most. I give you one example. I met a nice gentleman in Taiwan last month when I attended a conference. And then he showed me a huge pile of books he co-authored with Gen AI, with ChatGPT. Is the solution to the 7 most difficult mathematical questions of this world. And it's a huge book. And he said that he already sent it out for reviewing. Okay? Then he wanted me to take a look of it, and then I said, sorry, I cannot do it, because first, I'm not a mathematician. I don't know how to evaluate it. I have no information, I have no background, I have no training to understand this. So I am not the person who qualified to evaluate it. And he emphasized one point. He said that, okay, you see the hallucination rate is now greatly improved in the last 2 years. So we should trust ChatGPT can solve all this problem. The most difficult 7 mathematical problems of this world. And then I said that the hallucination rate is one thing, but can you evaluate it is another thing. So if you cannot evaluate the result of it, then that could be a problem. Okay? Of course, there are also other ways for evaluation. For example, if you want to translate some text into a language you don't understand, right? For example, I cannot read Korean. I want to translate Chinese into Korean. And then how I can evaluate it? Can you think of any method you can evaluate it? Yes, very good. Ask to translate the translation back into Chinese. Okay? You may say, what? No, that works, right? When you translate translate the text from Chinese to Korean, and then there may be something lost during this process. And then if you ask it to, okay, translate back into Chinese, then you can compare to see the original text and then the second translated text, how much information lost or how good it is. Then you can kind of evaluate the Korean translation of the Chinese translation in the first round. Okay? So that could be one solution. But honestly, to a lot of professional translators, they may say that, no, should not be the way. Yes, of course. So that's why we still need translator. We still need people who have expertise in translation to evaluate some of this work. Okay? So I would say this may be a question you have in your mind and you want to ask me is, will AI replace your job? Right? Because last year when I was in the Council of East Asian Libraries annual meeting, a lot of people had this question, will AI replace my job? This is my perspective. I may not be correct. Maybe I will be replaced very soon. then you don't take this, you don't take my word if that happens. But this is my perspective. I think this is the moment that domain expertise is unprecedentedly important. As myself, I was trained as a historian. So I did not take any computer science course. I did not take any artificial intelligence course. I was trained as a historian. But I would say that once you can adopt the tools in my history research, then I can produce work that I could not produce in the past. Because now the level of difficulties in using a lot of all these tools has greatly minimized in the last 2 years. So in the past, for example, as the example of GIS, in the past, if you really need to learn about GIS, Harvard, the Center for Geographical Information, they provide 2 weeks workshop, full day. You need to go to the workshop for 2 weeks, every day, 6 hours. After your graduation, you have the entry or maybe advanced level of using the GIS tools. But now, I would say that you can start using it by yourself and with the help of GenAI, then that lower the time you need to learn something before you can use it. Then you can use the time to focus on your domain expertise, because domain expertise is important, especially in validation or evaluation of the GenAI work. Okay, so we will see some cases in the next few hours. Any other questions so far? No? Okay, let's jump into, okay, actually this is the point that I made here. If you want, if you know your expected output, you will make the best use of them. So evaluation is the most important part in using GenAI tools. Okay, so there are basic concepts of generative AI. First is generative AI models are octo-compete. So you use your smartphone, right? You use the keyboard on your smartphone. When you enter an English word, for example, when you enter I, then it will provide you the next word. Maybe I am, maybe I talk, maybe I do. So it provides you with the next word. We call it the octo-compete, right? The octo-compete function of your smartphone. Gen AI models actually are just octo-compete. But they are not only compete one sentence, they compete paragraph. And also they compete code that you write and compete a lot of things. But they are just auto-compete. At least at this moment, we are talking about text generative code. So why I want to make this point is you will always hear people say generative AI, they are good or maybe they are evil. I won't put it in that way because they are not human beings. If they are evil, because the people who use it use them in an evil way. If they are good, because the people who use them in a good way. So I don't think they are evil or good in nature. They are just auto-compete. So that leads to the second point is, so how they do the auto-compete, actually everything is probability, probability, probability. Okay, so everything they do is for probability. And then the last is, if you know your expected output, then you will get the best out of it. We will see a lot of examples. Okay, there are issues and concerns. First, inconsistency. This has been greatly improved. Inconsistency, that means you ask the same question, it can give you, if you ask the same question 10 times, you will get the answer in 10 different answers every single time. Okay, so a lot of people consider this as inconsistency, especially if you are not asking a question that gives you only text answer. For example, if you ask question, you want to give an answer that is structured. In the past, that is difficult. But recently, all this problem has been solved. And then the second one is still the big one, is hallucination. Made up things, right? If you ask it who is the president of 2014, 2040, and then ChatGPT may just give you a made up answer to it. But now a lot of problems also solved, and also we will try with one of the solutions called retrieval augmented generation, RAG. That will greatly improve the hallucination problem. And then the last one is the question that you already asked, the privacy question and the security question, right? And then to me, the only solution is if you have concern, the best solution is deploy it on site. Okay? Even now, you may say that it's very difficult. No, that is not difficult. The machine you are using, especially if you are using Apple Macintosh, like me, the Macintosh, right? If you bought this machine in 2021, which means the M1 version, the M series, they are still using what they call the Apple Silicon. That is very good for running small model locally on your machine. Okay, so you don't need NVIDIA expensive graphic, the GPU to do the work. They can do it for you for small tasks, not all the tasks. But for example, now most of you may already upgrade it to the version that you can use Apple Intelligence, right? Have you tried with Apple Intelligence? No, you did not try with Apple Intelligence? Okay. Yeah, you can also install Ollama or something. Yeah, and for example, if, okay, this one may not work. For example, I just opened a Word file, and then okay, you see Copilot already jump out and say, hey, you have Copilot. That's great. Of course, we can use Copilot, but let's say I was 6 years old, and if I try to do this, I hope, and right-click it, then you will see there's something called writing tools, and then if I ask it to pull with it, okay, so it correct me with the S, right? This is AI, but it's not sending my information to somewhere. It's running the model locally on Apple, because once they cannot run it, they will ask you, should I send this to ChatGPT? That is, so there start to have that. There are a lot of small models which can run on local machine, especially if you know that what are the tasks you need Gen AI to do for you, then you can pick the best small model to run on your local machine that would not send out any information to other, like the big company. Okay, so far so good. Any question? Okay, so next is, you can see I list
the models, the papers model here, that OpenAI GPT series. Has anyone here tried all this?
I did Llama 3. It is Llama 3, right? And all of them, anyone try all of them?
No. So far, at this moment, for the Redbug, only at this moment, if you ask me to pay $20 the month to get a paid version, I will pick this one. I will pick this one. This is, but it's only for my job. Okay. Also, my job is writing code development, software development, website development, and also do a lot of administrative work. I will pick this one. This is so much the best.
Sorry, I need to use this. Oh, I forgot. So far, I think this is the best. But we will use almost everything with Google Gemini, and is catching up very soon, and you will see why. And DeepSeek, in the last couple of weeks, they made a lot of noise because they are cheap. They kind of have, a lot of people say, oh, they start have the performance of ChatGPT and also maybe Claude, but they are much cheaper. They almost like maybe this is like 10 times more expensive than maybe more DeepSeek. But this is also to a lot of people, they have concern about DeepSeek because it's a Chinese company. Okay, so if you have concern about like companies in China, then especially when you send your information to them, you find out, oh, no, we should not do this, then maybe you need to stay away from DeepSeek. But however, they have their model you can deploy on site. So that means you can, it's an open weight model, so you can use them on site. So these are the chatbots, ChatGPT, Claude, and Gemini, and DeepSeek. So I would suggest you to click on the Gemini here. Okay, you may open a new tab. Open a new tab, and then log into your Google. You can use is University of Toronto a Google campus? That means, do you use, no? You are Microsoft campus, okay. Then most likely you will use your personal account, right? That's good, okay? So you may have difference here. You may not see this. You may not see Gemini Advanced, right? And you may just see Gemini, and you don't have any model to choose because I'm using a paid version, so I have models to choose. You may not have model to choose. But okay, and then you can come back here. If you watch YouTube, especially those AI YouTubers, they always want to pay, they always pay these two tricks. Okay, try this, try the first one. How many words are in your response to this question? You can copy this question and then go to Gemini and then paste it here and ask it. You will not get the same result as me, right? No, okay. I may just go to this one, 1.5 fresh, and then I ask it again. Do you get the same result? What you say? Did you give? Did it give you a give? Did you give you a number? Okay. Anyone got a correct number? Only one word. One word. It provides you with one. It says one. Okay. Exactly one word. Yeah. Okay. How about others? Did anyone get correct answer? Who get incorrect answer? Can you raise your hand? Okay. Incorrect answer is the correct answer. Why I should say this? If you remember, in the 3 points I made about LLM, everything is probability. So it's not used, what it's doing is predicting. It's not really counting the word, okay? For earlier model or less performance models, they cannot predict it correctly, okay? For more advanced model, like this one, or maybe I turn it into this one, the 2.0. Okay, you see, I got 10 words. Is it 10? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, right? It's not correct. But for something like, okay, this model, they already know that a lot of YouTubers and a lot of people love to play tricks with their model. So the first sentence is, this is a bit of a tricky question, right? They know that you are trying to set them up. So that's why they give long questions, not responding in a word. The reason for that is they are not really counting the word. They're just predicting. So it's randomly predict a lot of things. There was a study trying to ask LLM, no matter what models, to give a number, random number, to the user. So there is one number appear much more time than all other number. Can you predict that number? What is that number? Now you ask LLM to say, can you randomly give me one number? Let's see if that happens in. What number do you get? 7? 27? 42. And no. Yeah. Any other 42? 42. Any other 42? No more? 42 always have the higher frequency. Do you know why? 42 is a very special number in a lot of literature. Do you remember there's a movie or I cannot remember the name of that movie. It's The Hitch. Huh? Yes. Thank you very much. Because why that movie? Why 42 is connected to that movie? Can you explain that? Yes. Because in sci-fi, 42 is the number, the ultimate answer to the universe. So there are a lot of 42 appear in our literature. That's why the frequency, if you count the whole literature as a corpus, the frequency of 42 appear in that corpus is much, much higher than any other number. That's why you will get a lot of 42 if you ask a question, randomly give me a number. Yeah, so, right, you see, so if you have time, you can do it 100 times to see how many 42 you will get, right? That's how the research was done. But so the point I want to make here is when you have a higher frequency of some word in your training data, you will have the higher frequency of their appearance in the response. Okay, so everything is probability. Okay, so there is a second trick a lot of people love to do is to count how many owl in the word strawberry. You can try this one, but now I think almost all model, they already kind of solved this problem. Okay, yeah, you see, this one is still incorrect. Right? Do you get a correct answer? How many hours? 3, right? Usually you just say 2, right? So it's not really counting it. But their engineer solution to do the work is like if you start the runtime for Python and then write a code to say, okay, first split the strawberry into one character, and then use the code to count it, it will get the answer, and then provide you with a correct answer. But that is not using the LLM. That is asking LLM to write code and then to count the characters. Okay, so this is 2 tricks. I want to the points of these 2 tricks is you can see that why hallucination happens and why we have problem with some of the answer, because everything is probability. Okay, probability, probability, and probability. So far so good? Okay, so let's go back. So in the past, in the last 2 years, I had quite a lot of workshops, and quite a lot of workshop jump into this part. It's called prompt engineering. But now I will keep this short. So prompt engineering, you can imagine what things we are doing right now. Okay, last time was Iron Man, and then now I need to ask you, did you watch Harry Potter? Did anyone not watching Harry Potter before or not knowing Harry Potter? Okay, you know Harry Potter, right? Okay, Harry Potter, magic world. How you start the magic? What are the kind of essential elements in the magic world when you need to have a magic, except for some person like Voldemort and Dumbledore? General magicians, when you need to start the magic, you need to have a wand, and then you need to spell, right? You need chanting, right? You need to chant the spell, and you need to have the wand. So the wand, in our case, is the chatbot, is the LLM, is ChatGPT. And then the spell to start the magic is the prompt. So when you ask a question, that's the spell you chant with LLM, right? Okay? However, there's something that is quite difficult to present in text, because now you can just screen capture something and then upload the image to the chatbot like ChatGPT. But in the past, 1 year ago, it may not be that easy. So if you want to present a table, we use a markdown way to do it. So like this is how we type markdown in plain text. And once the markdown render, then you will get the table like this. Okay? So markdown is, we consider it as an AI-friendly text when we need to use AI. This is only an example. You don't need to pay too much attention to it, but if you want to know more, you can click this to get the markdown page. Then you can see how you can present different kind of format, different kind of style in plain text. So also in the past, I spent a lot of time to explain what is zero shot, what is few shot. To make it very briefly, is zero shot is you just ask a question. You don't give an example. But for few shot prompting is you give some example to the AI to let them know, okay, these are the examples. And there are chains of thought, there are step-by-step prompting, and there are confirmation of understanding, and also they're telling the prompt not to do something, okay? All these prompting prompt engineering. I will not go into it today because I think you can get information from here. I will jump into the use cases, then I will explain some of the prompting technique in our use cases. Okay, so now for the first one, this is the case that I think related to librarian a lot. In these use cases, how can we use the Gen AI to format our citations and reference? So what I did here is I have the Journal of Asian Studies style guide from this website, right? So Journal of Asian Studies is a very prominent journal in the field of Asian studies, right? As librarians, you may know that every journal, they ask for their own styling, right? So you have a lot of, for example, in this case, you can see you have the Chinese character, you have the pinyin, and then you have the date, and then you have the title, but need to be in italic, and then the Chinese characters, and then the English translation of the Chinese character. So some of the journal, they may not follow this order. They may have different orders, right? And but what I am trying to do is I give it a prompt. I tell it, okay, so these are the example of the formatting. And once it understands the task, and then I will give them new book to process. So I copy the prompt, and then you can use your Gemini. One suggestion here, when you start a new task, start a new conversation. Don't use one conversation for all your tasks. Once you start a new task, use a new conversation because it has memory. Once that you have too many tasks, you have different information, is memory getting messy? And then it starts to have like hallucinate. So have a new checked, and then just paste the prompt inside. Okay, how it's successful is it says, okay, I understand the task. I understand the task, and then your answer may be different from me because it's random, it generates randomly, okay? But make sure it says, let's start, let's to give me books. Do you get it? No? You did not? Anyone has any problems so far? Okay. Okay. Once it says it's okay, then you can copy all this book here. Some of them are Chinese books, some of them are Japanese books, and then you paste them in the chat. Do you get the expected result? No? Different. Different means the formats are different, right? Not in the citation style. How about others? Okay, are you using Gemini?
I'm actually using a local model that's hosted downstairs.
So using the.
There is an Olama running downstairs.
Okay, so that's a different model. So you can see the performance of model. Different models, they may have different results, right? That's why they have a 200 tier, ChatGPT have a, I cannot remember, 200 tier, $200 tier for their Pro version, for their Pro model. But for those who use Gemini, did you get something like this? Right? No, you did not get. How about, yeah. Yeah, Copilot looks correct because you have a paid version of Copilot here, right? So now if you can try it because you have a paid version of Copilot here. So you can try it with the University of Toronto Copilot to see the result, right? So you can compare to see that some of the models are better in certain tasks, and some of the model may not be as good as it in the same task. Okay? So far, any questions? This is only a use case. Yes? Sorry, I'm a little bit confused here. When you mentioned data sets, what? I would say no. The best result is you try the task with the model, because the training data, they may use different training data, but the training data may not have direct impact on the result you want to generate, because I would say that is too big sometimes, and you even cannot to link. You have this data set, that's why you have this. Yeah, there is not clear matching. Especially, there are also other architectural component that may have influence on the model. Okay, so far, question? Okay, then let's try with the other one. This is another use case. So far, we all use the AI, the text side of things, right? How about if I want to draw some graphs or draw some diagram, okay? So what I ask you to do is you copy this, and then you go into Gemini or Copilot, because you have Copilot, and it seems to me the Copilot version seems to have better performance. So you can use Copilot and then paste this text in it. What this task to do is, I have this information is the position hierarchy of an organization, director, manager, and associate. And then I have all these people here, and I want an org chart. Okay, our org chart is a chart that's showing the hierarchy of an organization, right? So once you paste the text in it, you should see it generate something like this. Am I correct? Okay, then you can copy it, and then you can see there's a link here called Mermaid Live Editor. You can open this, and then you can just delete all the text on the code side and paste your text in it. Most likely you will get something like this. There's an org chart. So you looked confused. So where do you start? Where do you have problem? So what I'm doing here is I want to show you that we use it to generate text, but at the same time we can also use it to generate code, right? In this case, the code that generate can help us to generate a diagram. And that diagram, we need to use something called Mermaid, because it's Mermaid format. So I have this software here, and then I can copy and paste the Mermaid code in it, and then it can generate the org chart for us. But if you have other charts, for example, you want to do other charts, then you can visit Mermaid here, and then go into their documentation to see there are many charts here. You can ask them to provide you with pie chart or timeline or any other different charts. Okay? However, you may say, Kwok Leung, yeah, when I show you this, you may. However, you can also use this tool. So far, this tool is free. It's here. It's called Labkin. Okay, you don't need to create an account right now, but you can try it at home. If you do a lot of visualization, I highly suggest you to try this. It's called Labkin. What you can do is you pay any tax on it, and it will help you to create a diagram. I will show one case in the next 30 minutes. I hope if we can reach there. So far, any questions, problems? No. Okay. So I really want to go into this, and so retrieval augmented generation. So far, what you have done is like this. The first chart here, you have a query. You send it to a LLM, a large language model, no matter it's Copilot, Gemini, and then you get the result from it. Okay? This is a direct LLM query. What other problem could be is you can get hallucination. For example, you can try it right now. You can ask it to say, what are the best collection of the Zhang Yutong East Asian Library at University of Toronto? And you are the librarian here. You can evaluate the answer. You can ask this question to it to try to see how is the result. And I can kind of quite sure that it will hallucinate something for you if you don't use the search function. Just ask Gemini. Maybe you can ask Gemini this time. Don't use Copilot, because Copilot will search online. Just use Gemini to ask the question, what are the best collections of the library, of this library? Is it correct? Kind of. Is it? So you are the librarians here. You think their answer is okay? General responses, right? Specific good results, right? Especially it could not highlight like what are the best, the gems of this library. It just gives you general results. So yes, hallucination is one problem, generalization is another problem. So this is what you are doing, like just give a query and then LM and then result. But we have something called retrieval augmented generation. So we have the user query, And then what next we will do is we have a knowledge base. We provide our own knowledge to LLM. So once you have the user query, and then the retrieval component analyze your user query, and then get the corresponding, the relevant information from the knowledge base, and then put it back into the retrieval component. And both of them, they go into the context processor, and then go to the LLM, and then generate response for you. So what we will have an example of this. So can you see here, there is a link called Notebook LM. Open a new tab of this, then you will see this page. Okay, can you see this, right? Okay, then click try Notebook LM. I have quite a lot of my own notebook here. And then you may just go to, you may just click a new, create new. Then you will go into a page like this. Am I correct? Okay, so can you see here, website? Okay, so go back to this page, and then you will see this one, this link here. Start with raw.github, copy this, and then go back to the notebook, to this page, and then go to website, click website, and then you can paste a URL here, and then you can click insert. Okay, what have you done was you import this file as a source into this notebook. What this file is I scrape the research guide under the Jiang Yutong East Asian Library, and then I put it into one file. So if you read this file, you may find something that you wrote, you create as the research guide, right here. You may not get you may get the same name like Anti-Asian Racism in Canada resource guide, right? So it just picked the first headline as the title, but actually it's not only that one guide, it has all the guides right here, okay? So far so good? Everyone can import the information into it, right? Okay, now, you don't need to do this with me because it will take you some time. I will click this first. And then what you can do right now, you can start to ask questions. I will suggest you to ask a question, something like, if you want to study the Korean communities in Canada, how should I start? If you want to study the Korean communities in Canada, if I want to study the Korean communities in Canada, how should I start? This is the response? No, you just have the question. You don't need to specify it. Does the answer look familiar to you? Because that's something that you wrote in the research guide. Am I correct, right? So, yeah, so do you get proper result?
I don't have Hong Kong results, but I do have a book that is in Korean. There's one Korean immigrants in Canada, perspective on migration immigrants in the family, which trains the partners Canadian-Korean relations.
Yeah, so that is generate based on the knowledge base, based on the resources we provide. It's not generate based on the probability it was trained. So if, for example, now, if you ask a question to see, like, let me see. I want to study Africa. Can you tell me how? You can ask the same question. In the same thread. I want to study Africa. Do you get any answer?
No, it says the sources provide focus on Asian Canadian studies, so it cannot provide it.
Did anyone get answer? For same answer, right? It says, no, I don't have resources. I don't have sources to provide you with. So you can see the difference is it only provide you with the answer from this part, not trying to give you answer that generate randomly or based on probability. So this is retrieval augmented generation. For the free version, you can import 30 sources in it. Each sources with maximum 500,000 words. That means you can import 30 books, 30 300 books, 300 pages books into it without any problem. And then once you have that amount of data, then you can start to ask questions. For example, before saying that, I would try something that this is usually very eye-catching.
Welcome to our deep dive, everybody.
Yeah.
Today we're going to be looking at the history of anti-Asian racism in Canada.
And we're really lucky to have all these amazing resources from the University of Toronto's East Asian Library to help us unpack all this.
Yeah, it's not just like books and articles, right? We've got films.
Yeah, we've even got old documents that have been digitized.
It's really a rich collection.
It is, and it allows us to go like way beyond just the surface and grapple with how complex this history is.
Right, and not just as like a series of events, but
Yeah.
like actually as a way to understand issues of race and identity.
And belonging in Canada, even today.
Yeah.
What it does is it generates a podcast, a conversation based on the resources. And it's not only generate the podcast.
Yeah, for sure. So it's not just Welcome to our deep dive, everybody. Today, we're going to be looking at...
Oh, hey, our listener wants to join in. What's up?
Hi, I want to ask a question about Hong Kong communities in Canada.
Oh, hi there. That's a great question.
Yeah, that's definitely something we can touch on.
So while our deep dive today is focusing on the broader experiences of Asian communities in Canada, we can definitely weave in some points about Hong Kong communities.
What's fascinating here is that the experiences of people from Hong Kong often intersect with broader themes of immigration, racism, and community building.
Yeah, exactly. We're going to be looking at the history of different Asian communities, and it's important to remember that each one has a unique story while also sharing some common threads.
If we can...
Oh, go for it.
Hey, sorry for the interruption. Now I change pen. I have final projects on the relationship between Taiwan and Canada.
Hey, no problem at all. It's great that you're working on a project that touches on these important issues.
It sounds like you're exploring some really complex stuff, so hopefully what we're discussing today will be helpful.
And we're happy to adjust as needed. So it sounds like you're doing some in-depth work here, and we're just happy to help however we can.
Exactly, and what's fascinating about the history we're discussing is the diverse experiences within Asian community.
Ah, yeah, uh-huh.
I'm doing a project on Canada and Taiwan. Can you provide me where I can find the sources and also articles related to them?
Oh, that's fantastic. It's great you're focusing on Canada and Taiwan.
Yeah, we can definitely point you to some specific resources and where to find them.
What's fascinating here is that the University of Toronto Library has a dedicated Taiwan Resource Center for Chinese Studies, the first one in Canada.
Yeah, and that's a great place to start your search.
They have a massive collection of materials from Taiwan, covering all sorts of topics.
And you'll find books, articles, and even digitized archives there, all related to Chinese studies.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, the library also has a variety of online databases with full text articles from Taiwan.
Yeah, like the Taiwan Electronic Periodical Services database that has tons of academic journals from Taiwanese universities and colleges.
And the Chinese Electronic Theses and Dissertation Services if you're looking for in-depth research.
Okay, so to recap for you, we will be
What do you think? So this is only one source. If you think about like you have 30 sources, then you can ask it to integrate a lot of different questions, right? And I'm using a PASS version, so the maximum I can import is 300 sources. So yes. It's accurate because the source, and then the source, I did not ask the permission, I should maybe. I scraped all your research guide and then put it into one file, and then that's why it's based on it. So at the same time, if you, let's say you don't want to do scraping, you can add source by source, like just add source by source by copying the website to it, paste the website, and then it will import the text from the website. Or you can also add source from YouTube video. If you have a YouTube video, for example, 2 hours long, you don't want to watch it, but you think that's important, or you may already watch it, then you can import it. Yes, you can translate it. You can, for example, now you are multilingual. Try to ask in the language you love to see if it can give you the language, the response or answer the question. And also, it can import all this kind of file, PDF, text, Markdown, and audio file. Okay? One way you can use it, I don't know, is this a suitable use case? Do you need to do meeting minutes? A lot of people hate to do meeting minutes, right? Now, I don't know, if you can record the meeting, and then you can have the MP3 file or the audio file, you can put it in, and then you will get your meeting minutes. Yeah, that's what they said. But again, you know, I really met some people who really hate this big giant tech company. They don't trust them. So I would still say that if you're really concerned about that, then you need to think about that. But in any case, if it's okay, you can upload the minutes and you can use it to do some different kind of things. You can see I use for myself only. I have something called household reference. I don't want to go into it, but what I use it is, this is for daily life household influence references. You may buy a lot of different kind of applicants, or you may have different kind of applicants that you have manual, right? At home, your refrigerator, you have a manual for your refrigerator. You have a manual for maybe your Dyson vacuum. You don't want to keep the manual, but sometimes you don't know how to use it. Put all the manual in it, and then go back and ask question. Hey, I don't know how to use this Dyson vacuum. Can you tell me how to use this Dyson vacuum? So, imagination, right? Just my point here is, you have a lot of data that you think is safe to upload here, then it can help you to do a lot of different kinds of things. We are doing a lot of experiments with it. For example, let's say, I think this exists in my file, in the file that I scraped. You can try to see, you can ask a timeline for important or significant events in the immigration history or the Canadian immigration history. You can ask it to create a timeline for you. You can try it right now. Or you can just click here. Maybe you can get the timeline immediately. You can click here. For example, now if I click here, and it will generate a timeline for me. Okay, you can see we have the timeline. Here's the timeline that encodes the characters based on the sources, and then you can see, I think this is a kind of like a history of the immigration into Canada, right? A very long timeline, and okay, cast of characters. I don't know, you turn it into a drama or something. Yeah, so sometimes you still have some problem, you can see, right? So that you need to make the problem very clear what you are looking for and what you are doing with it, okay? So, any question about Logbook LM at this moment? No? Okay, so, yes, sorry, yes. Unfortunately, no. We can do it in another way. Actually, this is one project that I am working on. It's called Digital China Worldwide. So we, let me see if I can. Okay, you can see this is a very creepy website that I built last year. When I built it, I had a lot of problem with it, and so what it does is there was a conference in 2022 in Boston at Harvard. The name of the conference was The Tools of Trade. and some of you may attend that conference. That is kind of like a pre-conference of the SEAL conference and also the AAS of 2022 at Boston. So during that conference, we got 143 presentation and a lot of digital scholarship project from different libraries related to East Asian studies. So what this website is we found out there could be a lot of resources, a lot of good projects that people don't know. And there is no place that we can do something with it. So then Professor Peter Bo, he wanted to have a directory website for it. So then I built this. I had a lot of my own thinking at that time, and so I built this not in a good way. So it's multilingual, and it has a search function. I'm trying to completely remodify this website into a chatbot by using the retrieval augmented generation technology. That means we will have a knowledge base which librarians, researcher, creator, they can add their projects in it. And then it's live. And we will create a chatbot interface. And for people who come into this website, they may have a question like, I'm doing my master thesis on Tang Dynasty poetry that related to the southern part of China. Where can I start my research and what kind of resources related to it? Then it will give recommendation on the resources of all this related database, digital collection data set to it. So this is what I'm working on. Back to your questions. I think every library can build something similar to this. And also, you can set up a chatbot, which we may do in the afternoon, to let your patrons to use the chatbot to ask basic questions that can extract information from your research guide. And then also keep a way of doing the synchronization. When you update the research guide, then your chatbot can update their knowledge base at the same time. Did I answer your question? Okay. But for Notebook LM, you cannot synchronize it unless there's only one way you can do it. You add a source, and then you click Google Documents, and then it links to a Google document. And then the Google document, once you update it, it provides you a kick. You can kick it, and then it can synchronize with the Google document. But you still need to manually kick it within Notebook LM. But we have other tools which we can do the live update of the knowledge base. That I would say that is quite an advanced process, at least at this moment. There are not very good existing tools that can really do this task. Okay? Oh, I write my own code. Yeah, but is web scraping a big thing in your daily work? No. Okay. So one thing I did not mention in my outline and today is actually, which is the, I would say, if you are really interested in generative AI, you should step into it. Is AI coding. As some of the tools, for example, recently very famous is called Cursor. So these tools can help you to write code or even build a complete project by using natural language. So for example, if you say that, oh, I want a personal website, the website should have first blog, second introduction page, and then third a link page, then it will build a website for you without knowing HTML or other things. Okay, so there are other things that I will go into this. You can see one way for the retrieval augmented generation is we provide a knowledge base to it, right? But now you can also see that there's a changing way of doing search online. In the past, when you search something, you use Google, what you need to know? Keywords, very good. So if you don't know the keywords, you cannot search the things, right? For example, if I don't know, that always happened to me is if I see a food, I want to eat it, but I don't know the name of the food, then I have no way to search it, right? But now you can just describe the food, then you can search it. Or even, there is one paid version here is called Deep Research, okay? Now I will click Deep Research. You may not have it in your, you don't have it in your free version. So I will use this, and then let's say I want to have a 2-day itinerary for a 3-year-old kid, very bad English, visiting Toronto. Very bad English. Yeah, then let's see if it can understand it. So it will start to say, tell me that, okay, Toronto itinerary for toddlers. And then research website, it will start to find, it will start step by step is find top attractions and all this, and then analyze the result and create the reports. And if I get more, and then so you can see, and then I will say, okay, let's do it. I can edit the pen. If I don't like any step of it, I can edit the pen. But now I can start the research. This is actually also another kind of retrieval augmented generation. What it does is it go online, it go to the Google search engine, because you know Google dominant in this field for more than 2 decades already. It search, it get the result from the website, from its search engine, and then go to each website, scrape the data, and then immediately build a knowledge base. How many websites is doing? 33 websites. Let's see how many at the end it will research. 39 now. Usually it gets to 80 to more than 80, but sometimes it's getting lazy, so. Yeah, it depends on the websites. It depends on the question you ask. I'm asking a very relaxing question, a travel itinerary, but think about that, you can also ask this question in research question. For example, if I want to study the literature temple in Vietnam during the 10th century to 21st century, then it can do the same thing. It can form your research plan and then start to do all this kind of research. Okay, it's keep going, keep going. This takes quite a long process. I hope it can finish before our lunch. There are quite a lot of interesting websites. And okay, I don't know. I think it's almost 12 o'clock, right? And then we can let it go, keep going, and then we can see it. Is it okay? Maybe we can also have food to see how it goes. So yeah, so we stop at the retrieval augmented generation with Notebook LM, right? In the afternoon, when we come back, we will start to use another Google product called Google AI Studio. And then from that part, we will start trying to build something that our own tools. Yeah?
I tried going to that link for Google AI Studio, and it is saying
A page not found? Okay, yeah, no problem. Then we can just Google AI Studio to go to their page. Yeah, maybe I have some typo in the link. Okay, so
Okay, thank you very much.
yeah.
Oh, the result is already here.
Why before? Okay, so you can see it provides me with results, and even like, give me time. Day one morning, I should go to the Jeremy Bell Adventure Playground. Did anyone go to that one with your kid? Oh, it's a good one. Okay, yeah. So playground here, Wall Street, and Hyde Park Zoo, and then lunch at this cafe, and then afternoon go to the museum and very detailed, right? And then go give you all the itinerary and give you all the sources. So this is another kind of retrieval augmented generation. Immediately scrape the website and then provide you with the result based on the generation. And you can also ask it to, hey, I don't like this part. Try to replace something for another things. And also, you can open this whole pan in your Google Docs. For example, if you are writing a grant application, you can draft this and then open it in your Google Docs and then revise it from there.